There were 31 guys in our barracks in an all black outfit, and there were 2 jeeps coming in of white soldiers coming after us. And I said, look, I said, stand down, we can handle this.
And I had always wanted to come to California. In my romantic imagination, it was the last frontier. It was a place where exciting things happened, where I was going to find Mr. Right.
When I was about 7 or 8, I was living in the city of Indianapolis with my parents, and I was sent to a family farm down in Knox County, southern Indiana.
I knew I wanted to go into publishing. That was just an early interest of mine. And so I did a fair amount of interviewing, and this was the first opportunity that came up with a job.
I went to the war crimes trial of German prison guards. This was in Krakow.
That was still during the war. I took a job at the bakery of Mayo Clinic.
One of my memories of those trips is 4 or 5 of us would go out with these heavy packs on, and you come to the bottom of a steep trail and you're already tired, and you have to go a long way to get to the place you're going to camp. And we start looking at each other and thinking, do we really want to climb that hill? And then somebody will say, are we not men? And then we'd climb the hill.
It's an outlet for, what was then, I thought, radical activism. It allowed me to survive the Vietnam War through marches and petitions and letter writing, and there was draft counseling going on here, and it's just exactly where I needed to be.
The fall of '47, the first television sets were coming out. They had a greenish image, about so big, rather grainy. And I happened to see an interview of a young BBC announcer with Carl Jung.
My best friend from camp that lived in New York City and invited me to come and stay with her a bit. And my father was delighted when I asked him if I could, because Minneapolis was having a polio epidemic. And he said the best thing I could do was not come home. So I went to New York for the first time in my life.
I think one of the key things of my youth is growing up in the desert of California, right next to the mountains.
And, I went up and saw my mother, and she was in tears, and it turned out it was correct. My father had been killed. It's ridiculous. My father had been killed, and that was, I suppose, that was the most devastating, painful thing that's happened to me in my life.
I can't tell you what I think until I find out what the Catholic Church says. And I did this more than once, and one night I heard myself saying that, and at that point everything went. The balloon was burst, the Catholicism was no longer the guiding factor in my life.
And I still get misty when I think about it. But for a man who had nothing, was really nobody, cared that much about what I was trying to be, it moves me, and it's been almost 50 years probably, and it's over 50 years, well over 50 years.
And it shook me up, it shook me. These kids have guns. I'm here to teach them ethics.
Well, I always liked engineering because I liked to learn how things worked and to be able to take part in that, in designing equipment and building it and seeing it work.
My father passed away, and 1923 when I was 8 years old, and that really changed things a lot because farming with a lot of livestock was a lot of work.
We had a nice apple orchard, so I loved to climb the trees and eat apples. And of course, we had no freezers, we had no electricity. I was 19 before we got electricity. And dear Franklin Roosevelt, who was hated by some but loved by a lot of the rest of us, who brought rural electricity and changed the life for many, many, many people.